we are learning to use punctuation correctly. Okay, let's think about using a full stop in our writing. So we use a full stop when we have finished an idea. So here's a little story I've written. I went to the shop, it was raining. I have two ideas in my story. I have this idea here about going to the shop and this idea here about the rain. So I need to show where my idea is finished. So my first idea was I went to the shop. So after that I should have a full stop. And my next idea, it was raining. At the end of that idea, I need to have a full stop. An exclamation mark and a question mark also count as a full stop. And the way I remember this is that the exclamation mark has a full stop at the bottom of it, and a question mark has a full stop at the bottom of it. So if you use these at the end of an idea, that counts as a full stop. Now let's think about that exclamation mark and when we would use that. An exclamation mark tells the reader that something important is happening, or you want to add emphasis to what you were saying. So if I said something in my story like, it was pouring down with rain, and I want the reader to understand that it was really raining really hard, then at the end of that I might have an exclamation mark so that they know that it was really important. Now let's think about when I would use a question mark in my writing. A question mark shows that a question has been asked. So if I had something like someone saying, "How are you today?" then I would need to put at the end of that a question mark to show that they were asking a question. And remember, I don't need to put my full stop at the end because that dot under the question mark counts as my full stop. So now let's think about speech marks. Sometimes people call them 66 and 99 because they kind of look like a 6 and a 9. So we have them, the 6 at the start of what someone says and the 9 at the end of what someone says. So if in my story I was saying something like, get out of here, said Mum, then the words that Mum says, get out of here, need to have speech marks at the start and the end. I don't put my speech marks around said Mum because those aren't the words that actually came out of her mouth. The words that came out of her mouth were get out of here. So those are the words that have the speech marks at the start of what she says and at the end of her talking. Now let's have a think about commas. We use commas when we have a list of things, like if I was saying what the weather was like and I said today it was wet, cold, windy and yucky, then between my list of adjectives here, wet, cold, windy, I separate them by having a comma between those words. Because if I said today it was wet and cold and windy and yucky, I'm using the word and over and over again and it doesn't sound very good, so I can use a comma instead. I also use a comma if I want the reader to pause in their reading. So if my sentence said the boy was upset. He kept on crying. To make the reader pause here, I put a comma so that when they read it, they say, the boy was upset. He kept on crying. Instead of just reading it without a little pause there, it just makes the reading sound a bit more interesting. So today in your writing, focus on using those different forms of punctuation, making sure that you've got capital letters at the start of your sentences and a full stop at the end of each sentence or idea. Remember that an exclamation mark or a question mark also count as a full stop. Make sure that you've used other punctuation like speech marks and commas. Good luck with your writing today.